Now, from the lens of a year later, because we did interview you at the time that happened, but from the lens of a year later, would you have done anything differently, or is there anything that you've learned from that?
Well, it was an interesting process. It all started with the Indiana State Police, actually. They responded to the accident and talked to him and found out what was going on, and they're the ones that called our office to let us know that he had made those admissions. From there, the investigation started, and I guess I can't say I was surprised, but I was relieved with how many people stepped forward to help. You mentioned the auditor's office. The auditor was great in helping us find payment history, so we knew which cases to look at. The Evansville Police Department spearheaded the investigation and spent hundreds of hours looking through records. The courts were great in helping us get access to the cases that he'd worked on. The defense attorneys that we spoke to, the other prosecutors from other counties. It was a large effort, and a lot of different agencies participated in and helped with that investigation. It was a troubling case in that you had a person that is literally hired by the court, that is literally a witness called by the court to come in and testify about something that is lying, and it was falsifying reports. So that was very troubling. But I think it's a good case in that in this case the system worked. What happened in that case, that came to light in the middle of a criminal trial. So that case was mistried, the jury was discharged, and so that gentleman got a new trial date and a new jury trial. There was another doctor appointed and brought in to do the evaluation. So I think the timing on it, while it was stressful at the time, actually worked out to everyone's favor. It was a complicated case in that he had worked on so many different cases throughout the years. I don't remember off the top of my head how many years the court had been using him, but they use a number of psychologists to come and do these types of evaluations, and so he was used sporadically throughout several years. And we took a hard look at each and every one of those cases and reports. It's a difficult thing sometimes to prove that things didn't happen, as opposed to that they did. But the Sheriff's Department helped us quite a bit with looking at their jail records and when he was in the building and when he wasn't, and some records as to who he saw and who he didn't. So we were able to look at some of those and kind of going through on a case-by-case basis, trying to determine whether or not we felt that we could prove reports have been falsified, because there's a difference between thinking that maybe it happened and actually being able to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. There's a large gap between those two. So for the last year or so, we've been working on that and trying to move through. A lot at stake on the other side. Obviously, he had a license to do this. Somebody that had no criminal history, that's something that you wouldn't expect this to have happened. Obviously, a professional that had worked in the court system for decades. So, I mean, there's a lot to lose on that side. We work with his defense attorney, but first getting him the evidence and then trying to work the way through the case. We had a couple of different things that we were trying to get accomplished. The first was we wanted him to receive felony conviction. I feel like if you come into court and you lie and you don't tell the truth, obviously that could be perjury, that could be a number of different things. But I think that you have to plead to a felony, which he did. He pled to obstruction of justice. The other thing that we were able to accomplish in the plea is he had to surrender all professional licenses, because we want to make sure that he's not going to do this again in the future. And so with the felony conviction and with him surrendering all his licenses, then we're sure that another court's not going to hire him, that he's not going to be called. And so that was what we were trying to accomplish and what we were able to get done this week.